Heather, I can't see your facial expressions at the moment, which is deeply frustrating to me because I suspect I can't tell whether there's a lot of agreement or disagreement with you on this. Tell me, from an evolutionary biologist perspective, what is the function of religion? Do we need it to thrive as a species?
Well, I'm gonna punt the first part of that a bit because it warrants its own dedicated conversation. But I agree. I agree very much with what Jordan was saying, and I think it actually indicates the problems with modernity, in part, are about a decohering. So I also agree with the problems with the new atheists. Atheist is a term that I have used to describe myself, but never new atheist, and that comes with the full understanding that religion has adaptive value, that if it did not, we wouldn't find every single culture in the history of humanity having had some form of religion. And what does it mean for us to be abandoning religion so quickly? Well, we can see part of it. Add this to the perfect storm of why it is that people are grasping for meaning. Because sure, any system that becomes orthodox, that becomes the representation of the sacred, will begin to become corrupt. Like this is the nature of systems, and they will need to be renewed, and there needs to be tension. Again, one of the concepts that Brett and I explore in our forthcoming book, there needs to be tension between orthodoxy and heterodoxy, between the sacred and the shamanistic, and without this system that people are raised into, and they can say, I see that, I see the sacred there, I see the holy, and maybe I want to go to it, and maybe I want to turn away. People are just unable to even know where to find meaning. And so, mind, body, and soul. I don't know, I don't have a brilliant grasp of what all is meant by soul, although much of it is in what Jordan is talking about, in the ineffable, in awe, in glory, what we feel when we experience a piece of music that just moves us viscerally. But even that, that word that I just used at the end, that is a recognition that they all tie together. Visceral, it's body, right? And so much of what we're experiencing now, the decohering of not just society, but I think of individuals, is people thinking, well, I don't need any of the stuff of the past. I don't even need to be tied to my own body. I can pretend that the thing that I am from the very beginning is simply a social assignment. No. Like this, all of this is who we are. Everything about our mind and our soul is embodied as well, and imagining otherwise is wrong. So, I admitted that I was going to punt the question of exactly what religion is for evolutionarily up front, and I did. But what I did say clearly was, given that every culture ever known has had some form of religion, we know there is adaptive value in it. And there is yet to be a culture that is completely without religion that is succeeding widely. And, there will be those, and Jordan is much better positioned to speak to this than I am, who knows more history than I am. There will be those who will argue perhaps, that China is an exception. But I think that some of what is passing for ideology, for instance, there is unto a new religion. Something will fill the vacuum.
And Christianity is growing faster in China than it did in Rome when it first emerged. So
there it is.
That's an interest, and the suppression is probably helping it.
No doubt. Yeah.
It seems that there's an emergent issue, Heather. Maybe you can tell me what you think about this, if you don't mind. So, we have to organize ourselves in relationship to values, because we can't figure out what to pursue unless we rank order things, because we can't pursue everything at once. And so we have to rank order things in terms of their value and their approachability. So then imagine that, well, out of that we can abstract something like value as such, right? Mm-hmm. And then you might say, well, there's an implicit understanding there that there are higher and lower values. And the whole value hierarchy is oriented around whatever value is. And you could say that the drive to God is the drive to understand the central factor that organizes all value. Or you could say it's representative of the thing that's at the top of a properly structured value hierarchy. And we all kind of have an intimation of that. I mean, everyone I ever met upbraids themselves for not being all they could be. Well, compared to what exactly? Well, something,
compared to the ideal,
right? I mean,
that we hold.
What's that?
Compared to the ideal that we hold in our heads.
Yes,
right?
it's an odd ideal, because what it does is whack you when you've deviated from it, and then your conscience tortures you. Now, conscience can go astray. You know, it can be too severe, and it can bring you down. So it's not an unerring guide, but it's an interesting phenomenon because it sort of operates independently, and it's not subject to your will exactly, because, you know, wouldn't we all be able to just dispense with the dictates of conscience? It's no, you compare yourself to an implicit ideal, and you torture yourself to the degree that you deviate, and you might rationalize and lie and deceive and try to ignore it and all of those things, but I've never seen that work. And so that's another example, I think, of something that's akin to, well, that's partly the function of religion from a social and biological perspective. It's like it orients you towards a collective ideal.